Justification. Being human. I talk about in that video Jiao Xuan about how what it is to be human. Human. It's not about being able to love, because all animals love. It's an emotive response. It's not about language, because we all speak in some way or another. It's the idea that as humans, we're able to just justify everything we do. And justification, it takes away all responsibility for our actions. Justification says it's on you. You're the one with the problem. It's like once when I was riding in the car with my sister and my mother in the front seat, and my sister, she said, I was probably 10 or I'd put it at 12 years old. She's like, ma, complaining about me being next to her. And I said, well, you know what? And she's older than me. She should have known better. She should have had a better reply or response. But I said, you're the one that seems to be the problem. Why don't you get in the back seat? Because that's what she wanted me to do. And my mother pulled the car over and she got in the back seat. There, problem solved. Who has the problem here? I didn't have a problem being by her. So, justification. You lose all problems and put it on somebody else. I'm very impressed that she was able to get in the back seat. And I'm sitting there listening to a wise man that I've come around to listening to in passing. Very wise man. I have to be careful of the things I watch lest they become me. I was watching something the other day and I said, this thing is gonna get into my head, and I shut it off. I was just curious about what they had to say about it, and I do believe in watching the things that these people say, so you got an idea where they're coming from. But there was something about it that said to me, shut this thing off. It was getting into my head. They're getting very good at it, evidently. So I'm watching this wise man talking about this. And he's saying, you can't even see a smile. And that's what I was talking about. The smiling eyes, we've got that, but you don't get the smile. And these kids that don't know the smile that goes with the eyes behind the mask, they're not gonna know when somebody's smiling. It's just gonna be lost. And they're like, this guy looks crazy, which is acceptable. Everybody's supposed to look crazy. We're not supposed to know where we're coming from. They're pushing on us what we're supposed to know about where people are coming from. That way, you think you got it all under control. But all they're doing is they're feeding you. They're feeding you with an idea to believe in. Evidently, there's a new god in town. And his name is Reggie Hammond. I just find it interesting. And, I listen to doctor radio, and I'm not talking bad about the doctors, but it's always strange to me how after I've said something that they bring it up within a week or two. It's like, oh no, somebody's talking, and this is what I got now. Talking to Victoria's father, longtime friend of mine, very, very reasonable, logical person. He's not even talking anything crazy. He's just like, all these people are getting appendicitis out of nowhere. Pow! You don't get the symptoms of it all. And it's just like, that's weird. He's naming off people in the community that were getting this appendicitis burst. Pow! And it's like, just this morning, I started thinking, after being into Bell's Tire last week where the guy was like, put your mask on. I was like, you're right. I thought I was like 30 feet away from everybody in the room. There was not a person in the place, but they're getting fined $7,000 for not getting their mask, which I'm not saying whether I'm a mask supporter or not, but I would like to think that if I'm standing alone in a room, I can breathe. And give him a look at my beard. It just happens. And this guy, I was like, sorry, man. And he was very, very cordial. Everything was good. And he mentioned in passing, as we were talking, about somebody that he knew, a relative, just had a burst appendix out of nowhere. And I went, and I said, whoa, this is happening. And this morning, talking and thinking and letting it, collate and coagulate and do all the things that it does in your mind when you're not thinking about things, how your mind is like, I see a threat, and it works it out. These are the solutions. The solutions come when we're not looking. Just, don't force it. Let it be. Your mind is incredible. And I realized that this appendix, they say it's a vestigial organ, the vermiform appendix, worm-like, meaning it says right there in your gastrointestinal system. I've always said it's not vestigial, it's latent. I've always said, from what I learned in the Army, being out for 2 weeks in the field, in the last week or so, I would start getting really drunk. I was like, it's not vestigial. It's a latent emergence. This thing is growing. It's designed to hold alcohol in your system for the times when times are lean, and it shoots it out to get you through. You go, ha 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 ha. You're fucked up, and it's like this weird. But in reality, I think about this appendix thing, how everybody's suddenly having problems with their appendix, and when you talk to people that have had the COVID that don't tell anybody, they're like, I had gastrointestinal problems. They say they were just felt like, oh, I had to get it out, but it wouldn't come out. Something was blocking. There was something that was happening that was blocking the evacuation. And I realized, okay, so you got the appendix. I'm getting away from the alcohol thing, the latent emergent. I'm going right back to vestigial. I'm thinking in the times before we were, and this is what we talked about, in the times before we were good enough to hunt. We were foraging more than anything, eating a lot of nuts. And so you're eating all these nuts, and people didn't live that long anyway with their teeth. Their teeth were gone long before they died, just like today, only it was consolidated that time. It was shortened. So you're getting nuts like a chicken has a gizzard for the stones. We probably had something in there. That's probably my guess, is that the appendix was to just chew up all the nuts that we weren't able to chew up enough to just cruise through and get digested. And now, so these days, with a vestigial organ like a vermiform appendix, you see people getting diverticulitis, which is the nuts are getting in there and creating problems, and then they got to cut it out and everything. It's like, oh my God, cut my intestines out. Well, what do you want from me? That's all I got left is my guts. And the thing is, so now with this thing that's backing up, I got myself by the nuts. You can't see it, but I'm backing it up back into the system. And it seems to be maybe all these poisons that can't get out. We're eating nothing but poisons anyway, because that's what they sell us. And maybe that's what's happening, is that it's getting into our appendix, and our appendix is bursting. This is a new symptom of whatever it is going on, whether it's real or not. It always amazes me. They talk about it within a week or two after I've talked about it. The gamma virus, all this stuff. Stay out of the sunlight. Oh boy. And so it may be that's why people's appendix are bursting. And I talk about staying out of the sunlight, and oh boy, I don't know. What do you want to believe? If you just listen to what they're telling you on the teleprompter, then really all you are doing is justifying your belief system. You're not putting any thought into it. There's nothing to do with you involved in that. It's all them. If you're justifying it, it makes you all human. And let's go back to the gamma virus. I was joking, the Chinese found that like 2 weeks after there was any respiratory symptoms, any sign of it in the respiratory system, they were still getting it out of the fecal matter. And then a few weeks ago, Nolan's Victoria sent to me that somewhere in Guangzhou province, Guangzhou, China, in an empty apartment place, coming up through the tubes, nobody had been living in that apartment, and there was the coronavirus was in there. COVID-19 was right there in a place where nobody had been. This after I'd said, silent but deadly. You're gonna fart and somebody can get sick from you. They're proving it. So what you have to question now is, if you finally come around to being accepting of wearing a mask. How do you feel about wearing a diaper?